Welcome, friends, to the Will Rogers Rotary Club of Tulsa, the friendliest club in District 6110. If you're looking around for our guest speaker, he is on his way. He was doing his job and got a little delayed, so he'll be here momentarily. If you are able, if you'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, words of inspiration. So this is the week of Halloween, so my inspiration comes from Frankenstein. But it's an unusual one. I wouldn't have guessed this to be the source for this. It's Mary Shelley wrote a very simple but profound comment. Live and be happy and make others so. I like that. All right. Visitors, I feel like we have family, not visitors, because Myrna's here and Bob's here. Clark is almost a member, so appreciate all of y'all being here. And it's great that Sean was able to escape and come and join us today in the daylight. We normally only see him at night.
He comes out.
Yes. I think we've gotten through all the birthdays for this month, so we'll be moving on next month to the next round. How about anybody have anniversaries or any special things? Yes?
And I'll be celebrating 42 years on Thursday.
Well, congratulations. All right. Very good. And how about any kind of reports from committees? Debbie, would you like to tell us or remind us about next week?
I would love to.
Okay.
As soon as I chew.
Yes, I'm sorry to call on you at the wrong moment.
Remember that Tuesday, November 4th, gosh, that is next Tuesday.
Wow.
First, we're doing brunch at 10:15 for those who want to join at Big Biscuit. It's around 41st and Yale. And then we're headed over at noon to the Assistance League, which is around 31st and Yale in the Legacy Plaza, to do a tour. Larry's wife, Susan, has set that up for us. And they have asked that we bring gently used items to donate to their thrift shop. And you can go on their website, see what they take, but they take about everything from clothing, jewelry, antiques, housewares, you name it. And my own personal thing is always just be sure that they are gently used, you know, don't give the Assistance League a bunch of crap that you don't want. Please give them usable items that they can sell. But that's it.
Very good. Thank you. And Stan, do you want to tell us a little about Will Rogers' birthday stuff at Will Rogers?
Certainly. It's becoming a habit with you and me in the spotlight. Yes, on November the 8th, OU has a bye that week, Saturday. We're having the Will Rogers Foundation in association with, of course, the school, is going to have a Will Rogers birthday bash up at school from 12 to 4. And there's going to be a car show. There's going to be all kinds of things to do. We're going to have I'm going to be volunteered to staff the Will Rogers Community High School Foundation table for one shift. And I was asked, I should have passed this on, but I didn't know, I was asked if Rotary would like to have a table there. And I don't know if it's too late to do that or not. Would anybody be game for doing that? It's $25, by the way, to attend the bash there. And tickets are available online on the Will Rogers Community Foundation, Will Rogers High School Community Foundation homepage.
And it's on our webpage.
And it is, okay, good, yes. Patty and I and Bob Bryant were up at school last week giving our quarterly awards to our students of the quarter, faculty of the quarter. And something stood out to me on World Polio Day when we were there. I get up there in front of the kids that were all assembled there in the auditorium, and I posed the query: how many people here know what polio is? And very few hands went up. And that's what we're aiming for. We are so close to eradicating to where the younger generation knows nothing about it. They have to go to a medical text or something to learn about polio. It's kind of like with diphtheria, you know, stuff. We want that stuff not even entering into any practitioner's clinical thinking. And we're so close. Two nations where it's still endemic: Pakistan and Afghanistan. And you know, it's 2% endemic worldwide, down from like 89% when Rotary began the Global Polio Eradication Initiative in 1989. We're on the right track, and like I say, I'm challenging my whole club to match my donation of $150 to the Polio Plus. Okay, it'll be matched 2 for 1 by our Rotary partner, Bill Gates.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You brought up, yes. And, whoa.
Sorry.
Don't trip.
That's fine.
You brought up 2 points that I also wanted to share. Last week, as he pointed out, we were there at Will Rogers. There were representatives at Will Rogers 3 times last week to make presentations to the faculty or the staff and students of the quarter. And I got to be there for 2 of them. And first of all, the first one I walked in on, I got there early, and the middle school had Buckaroo Bob from the museum doing his roping, so it was kind of fun to see that, but that was totally unrelated to what we were doing. But the kids and the faculty who were honored, I think, were truly surprised and appreciative. The staff member for the middle school was not in the room, but we read all 8 recommendations for him, and then told the kids, this was a young man who worked in their cafeteria, and told them to go look him in the eye and thank him. Then we went to the cafeteria and made the presentation to him there. Yeah, so it was fun too, because I knew him, and he was very special. So that was very cool. And then Friday night, we had a great time at Village Inn playing bingo, and we didn't have a huge group there, and I think that was mostly because of the rain, but we had a lively and fun group, including our district governor and his wife, and members from a variety of different clubs around the area, and just had a good time. And we raised several $100s, and that will all go towards ending polio. And we also raised awareness, and the district office printed a lot of material for us to share with people, and we're thinking this might be an annual thing, because it was just a lot of fun. Our parliamentarian is not here, but if there are any happy bug comments, anybody?
Well, I'll give a happy bug.
All right.
I have to find a happy bug first.
And Myrna, you might want to also, are you going to share about?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about. What, always have something. I'm a retired teacher, what can I say? Always have something going on. In April, all right, that's 6 months away, but we're planning ahead. The Rotary Global Travelers is coming down, a lot of them from Minnesota, but actually we're located all over the world. And we want to mix and mingle with the Rotarians here in this area and celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Route 66. It was in my brain, but I couldn't say it. Route 66, yeah, Route 66. How many of you used to as a kid, we used to get on Route 66 and go on vacation, right? Yeah, so we have some memories. So I went down to the street, 11th Street, to check out there's quite a bit of stuff popping up related to Route 66, so I want to, connect these people to that. But also, I'm trying to set up some places where we can connect with them and visit, and so you'll be seeing some things coming forward about that. Definitely want to do a social. We're doing a service project at MSNI, and it's already reserved for April the 10th. I think if that's Saturday. And so they'll be here from Thursday until Sunday. And if anybody has a place for to have a Rotarian stay with you, let me know. I know I have some volunteers from other clubs, and we'll be speaking about what Global Travelers is at the Sand Springs Friday meeting, and they've already been told us that we can come and do that, and you're all invited to that too. So more to come. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And of course, we all need to be keeping in mind Holiday in the Wood coming up on November 18th. You can now register online. You can buy $25 raffle tickets, and you may win $500 or an assortment of other prizes. So be sure and reserve that date and get your tickets in. And now, Jim is going to come up here and introduce our distinguished guest.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. He is married to Dr. Christine Kunzweiler, who is our veterinarian and has been, not our veterinarian, our fur baby's veterinarian, for about 25 years now. So our fur babies have had good long lives and good care. Steve and Christine have 3 daughters. Steve earned his doctorate in law at TU. And he began serving as our elected district attorney in 2015. Before that, he was the chief of criminal prosecution under the Tulsa County DA, Tim Harris. And he has had 28 years of experience as a criminal prosecutor. He has sent hundreds of convicted felons to a safe place for them and a safe place for us. He oversees prosecution of about 12,000 felony charged and misdemeanor charged individuals during the course of a year. And he supervises 50 prosecutors in his DA office, which is a busy place to be, including today. He is a strong defender of victims' rights, and one of the programs that he started because of that is to develop a program for therapy dogs to serve children who are in the courtroom during situations that are very difficult for them. That's a wonderful program. He also serves as a member of the Attorney General's Task Force to combat human trafficking, which is a big problem. I say especially in Oklahoma, but it is for Oklahoma. He has implemented a policy of mandatory prison time for felons who use firearms in their unlawful acts. He's been supportive of incarceration, or alternatives to incarceration for treatment of nonviolent crimes and those who are convicted for those crimes. Sometimes these are in drug and DUI court, sometimes veterans court, sometimes women in recovery and mental health court. So those perspectives are much appreciated on our behalf. He also worked with a district judge and the governor and 2 of the legislative leaders in the last year and a half or so to get a consent order in place to provide mental health service for those who have been imprisoned who are dealing with mental health issues. prior to enactment of this initiative, persons were just housed in jail without treatment for who knows how long, sometimes over 2 to 3 years. Once they are assigned a counselor to work with them and they get past the incompetency issues, legal issues, then they're able to have their case brought before the court and they are adjudicated. So it is a pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Steve Kunzweiler.
Thank you very much. My wife told me, better not screw this up. Mr. Flugel and his wife are good clients of mine. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna mess it up. I don't know what they advertised on for me as a speaker in your little newsletter or whatever. Did you do the?
That you would have great stories.
Potpourri with the DA. Potpourri with the DA. So Adam Jones is my communications director. Adam used to work for Congressman Hearn, and I found a way to pull him away. I told him I was doing this talk, and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, it's going to be potpourri." And he says, "That's a word you're never going to use again." So this is my cell phone. And you just get your phone out if you take pictures or whatever, or write this number down. I have no problem sharing my phone number out there. I think I'm Catholic, and so I'm a big believer that we're all on this planet and we're designed to serve each other. And I don't know how else to serve anybody else if I make myself unavailable. So I often have a lot of fun with this kind of a question, especially with the younger crowd, is who thinks they have the most contact numbers on their phone in the audience. So is anybody who thinks in this little group, I mean, surely somebody's got a boatload of contacts. How many? 400. Yeah, you can figure it out when you go to contacts. Like on my app, you can get, like on that right side, it's got like a bunch of little small letters, and down at the bottom it's got that, what I call the number sign, and the young people call that a hashtag. And I was like, what? How did that happen, right? All right, so you figured it out yet? What do you think you got?
I have 2,315.
Wow. Okay, let me see what I can find here. Here we go. I'm currently at 5,241. And so, you know, you'll figure this out when I'm talking. My phone isn't blowing up on me. People are very understanding, and I give them my number, and sometimes I may have somebody I haven't talked to in like 5 years. But when they do call, or when they do text you, it's an emergency, and they need somebody to talk to about a particular issue. And it's oftentimes, it's got nothing to do with law and order. It's got to do with, I've got a kid who's mentally ill, or I've got a situation where I'm having trouble with my family. And so I readily will share that number with anybody, just because I think it's important just to make yourself available. All right, so I will kind of make it at the end to try and answer a bunch of questions, but this is a really important talk to me. I've given it to several different organizations, and you definitely need to know about it. All right, let's see, hopefully, there we go. All right, so this talk is going to be about the perils of modern day marijuana, okay? And that law enforcement, legal community, and the medical community we're witnessing firsthand, but it is not, okay? This is the caveat. It's not going to be, let's get rolling here, we're slow. It is not. A debate about isolated instances. It's not going to be a debate about anecdotal evidence. It's not going to be a criticism of your personal experience with marijuana. What the talk is going to be about is just what I think is a real need for all of us to try and demand concrete scientific data-driven evidence to either support or refute the claims that are out there that are being made about marijuana. That's what this talk is going to be about. It's not going to be an attack on individuals who've had positive stories about their marijuana experiences, because I've encountered plenty of people who said that. So let this thing is really not wanting to work on me. It's about holding the industry accountable, okay? And like any other industry, right? They have come into Oklahoma and represent themselves as being for the betterment of society, and we hold different industries accountable. And I'm like, okay, well then let's make sure that we're dealing with that from a public safety and medical safety standpoint. So I know, I'm sure you guys know what GM is, right?
Yes.
General Motors, I mean, they make cars. And we were just talking about celebrating 100 years of Route 66. Well, I mean, the cars that were being driven back then versus cars today, there's a huge difference between what you could operate on the road back in the day versus what you can operate today. And that's all because of public safety concerns that came out. And so GM, before they can even roll a car off their line, has to be able to demonstrate what they're putting out to the public as a safe product. Monsanto, which is involved in all kinds of agricultural stuff. You can't get a product that's going to be consumed by the American public without Monsanto making sure that what they're applying in the ground or on the plants is safe. Johnson & Johnson and all the products that they have to do, they have to go through the Food and Drug Administration to say, here's why this stuff is safe. You can't put new tires on your car without them being demonstrated to be safe for road operation. You got Pfizer, which gives medications and generates lots of medications. My youngest daughter actually works on a contract with Pfizer. It's pretty fascinating, all the things, the safety measures that they have to go through when they're going to roll out a new product. You can't fly on an airplane. Delta Airlines, right? You can't get on an airplane unless they're able to demonstrate what that product is going to do and provide for the safety of our public, right? So how in the world did we get to this point, right? And this is what's out there. If you drive down any street, and you're looking at any little subdivision, you get it, and literally they're calling it Dr. Green, right? I mean, this thing used to be the symbol without the leaf on top of it. It used to be the symbol that says, hey, this is doctor stuff, right? And they've appropriated that. And it's embedded within our psyche that perception is, hey, there's something safe about these products, right? And you can go anywhere around here, Essential Cannabis, and they put the little green cross, or the green, what it used to be Red Cross or whatever, now it's a green cross, and they call it 3 Docs Dispensary. This is all around Tulsa. You got things that they call, whole leaf medical dispensary and CDB, right? This thing really doesn't want to cooperate with me. There we go. Hemp RX, RX, prescription drugs, right? I would say we allowed that to be done to ourselves. We've allowed that. We have just basically allowed a business model to overwhelm us with the perception that there's something associated with this that's medicine. I would encourage you can take a screenshot of this if you really want to know the story. Maybe try and hunt down this book. It's by this guy, Alex Berenson, that guy right there, who's a former New York Times investigative reporter. And he wrote this book, Tell Your Children the Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness, and Violence. And you can get it on Amazon, but I would encourage you to read it. It's an easy read, as a matter of fact. It may take you a day or 2 or 3. It's not that hard. But his wife, I think, he tells at the beginning of the story that his wife worked, I think as a doctor, emergency room doctor or something like that up in New York City. And, like anybody else, like with my wife, you're asking about how the day went. And she was talking to him one day about, man, it was crazy at the hospital today. We had a lot of weird cases coming in. He's like, oh, that's interesting. What did you guys figure out? Well, we were just testing them. We draw blood or draw urine or whatever. And the only thing that, they were all showing was they had THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol, or that's a psychoactive compound in marijuana. That was the only thing that was in their system. And she says, I don't understand it, because for her as a medical doctor back at the time, marijuana was just recreational, whatever, but they were having people in full-blown psychosis showing up into her hospital. And so that piqued his journalistic curiosity. He decided to do a deep dive. And it is, I think, one of the most written investigative books that goes back to the origins of marijuana and how it has been literally rebranded for the consumers out there. He draws a distinction by how Europe does their scientific research versus the United States. Europe traditionally looks at things from an epidemiological perspective. If some problem happens, they're trying to figure out, is there an epidemic aspect to this that can affect our population? The American model tends to be more microbiology or microchemistry type stuff, where we're always looking for, well, can we do something to intercept neural pathways or something? So both different scientific models are approaching this issue a little bit differently, but Europe went through a long time where they were having to deal with it when Holland was legalizing marijuana, and Europe is way far ahead of the United States when it comes to its citizenry understanding the threats that are associated with this product. What does your common sense tell all of us, right? All right, so, Mr. Flugel, when you see that, you're driving down the road, when you see that happen in front of you, what's going on?
They're getting ready to stop.
Yeah, it's a stop sign. It's an indicator of something coming up, right? When you see this, I'm sorry, sir, but when you see that sign, what's your reaction to that?
Prepare to single up.
Yeah, got to merge into a lane, right? That's a warning sign that we have, right? If you saw your grandchild, Sean, who works at my wife's office over here, I don't know if you know Sean, if your kid had this look on their face, what would you be thinking?
He looks bored.
Yeah, bored, or maybe frustrated, or I'm not understanding what I'm being taught, and I'm not getting it, right? That's a warning sign, right? If one of your grandkids was complaining about not feeling so good, and we as good grandparents have always felt the forehead, man, when you're doing that, what are you trying to figure out?
See if they're warm.
Right, because they might have a fever or something, right? That's common sense. All this stuff that we've learned through our entire lifetime, that's stuff that we pay attention to. If you were seeing some kid lighting that up, you would be like, what the heck, right? I mean, we have all kinds of laws to protect our children from that kind of stuff. Smoking, right? We prohibit it. We set all these little arbitrary numbers, but it's for the safety of children, whether it's you can't drive until you're 16, you can't vote until you're 18, you can't go into the military until you're 18. Just all kinds of different things that we kind of help corral or protect our kids, right? But what have you been told about marijuana, right? What just from what you have seen? If you watch any of these major news stations out there, I mean, I tend to be a guy that I default towards watching Fox, but I've got friends that default towards watching CNN or MSNBC, but you can see it no matter what. I mean, even some well-educated people, and they're advertising some of this stuff, right? So you see this, right? That's for medical use only, right? And they use that imagery. And you've been told, and you can find this, it wasn't hard for me, you can take marijuana for your depression, and you can take marijuana for your epilepsy. You can take marijuana for Alzheimer's. You can take the benefits for ADHD. You can take marijuana for anxiety. This is all stuff that's being thrown at you repeatedly, right? And of course there's a business model behind it, right? But they're branding this thing as like, well, you can do it for diabetes, you can do it for cancer, you can do it for pain management, you can do it for acid reflux, you can do it to stop hiccups. You can, and what I say is, I've heard. All of it, when I get engaged in this conversation, that's what's going on. People are like, well, I've heard this, well, I've heard that, I've heard this, I've heard that. It just goes on and on and on. All right. So, You ever see that ad on TV? Right back in the day? Mr. Sham Wow, right? I mean, what is that? That's a towel that you wipe water off a car, right? Maybe it's got microfibers to it, right? But there was a whole campaign back in the day in which this guy was just all over the media saying, you haven't wiped water off of anything until you've had ShamWow, right? And so they sold millions of these doggone things. It's like, oh, I used to use a towel and it worked just fine. Where's the ShamWow guy, right? They marketed it and branded it in such a way that convinced the American consumers that, man, there's something magical about this when it really wasn't, right? I say it's like the old snake oil salesman, right? How you brand this stuff up, right? It's overstating, it's misrepresenting, it's failing to disclose, and in many instances, it's outright lying. So I say, what do the experts say, right? And these folks aren't very good at advertising this information. So I'm going to help them advertise what you need to know, right? American Medical Association. What does the American Medical Association say about this? They believe that scientifically valid and well-controlled clinical trials conducted under federal investigative new drug applications are necessary to assess the safety and effectiveness of all new drugs to include potential cannabis products for medical use. Do you know that doesn't exist right now? It's never happened, and yet all these things on your roadside are advertising, and we called it medical marijuana in Oklahoma. We called it medical marijuana, but that hasn't gone through the rigors that all these other things, right? We believe that cannabis medicinal use should not be legalized through state legislative, ballot initiative, or referendum process, which is how we got it, right? I mean, the reason we have a legislature is so you can debate these kind of things and not be overwhelmed by somebody who has billions of dollars, literally, to pour in and just convince your consumers that this is a good thing, right? They bypass that. The medical association say you should not legalize this stuff through some kind of a ballot initiative. They encourage hospitals and health systems to 1A, recommend patient use of non-FDA approved cannabis-derived products within healthcare facilities until such time as federal laws and regulations permit its use, right? And they also say you should educate your medical staffs on cannabis use and effects and cannabis withdrawal syndrome. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Cannabis withdrawal syndrome. That's a real thing. That's the kind of stuff you hear about, well, I need to get off of my heroin. I need to get off of my methamphetamine. Well, you might be going into DTs. You might be having detox issues, right? That's a literal diagnosis of people who are addicted to this high-potency marijuana. Shouldn't we be breaking right now? That's just the American Medical Association. Should you not be saying, okay, hold on a second here. Maybe we ought to slow down just a little bit. Here's what the American Academy of Pediatrics say. Given the data supporting negative health and brain development effects of marijuana in children and adolescents ages 0 through 21, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they're opposed to marijuana use in that population. Duh. Right? You don't even go close to this, right? But how's it being marketed to our kids? I mean, it's marketed as gummies. It's gummies, high potency gummies, right? They oppose legalization of marijuana because of the harmful effects on children. They strongly oppose the use of smoked marijuana because obviously you know it's going to cause lung damage. You don't know what the secondary effects are. They discourage use because of the important influence that models are modeled by adults. It's like, you know, if you're an adult and you got kids, you probably shouldn't be doing this because they're going to try and duplicate what your behaviors are. Well, how about now? Should you be breaking? I would bet, yeah. That's impacting our children for the future, right? What's the American Psychiatric Association say? There is no current scientific evidence that cannabis is in any way beneficial for the treatment of psychiatric disorders. Anybody in here have hearing aids? Because I do, and they're routed into my, I gotta say, sorry, I can't talk right now. No current scientific evidence, right? This is the Psychiatric Association. It's beneficial for any psychiatric disorder, but what did I show you at the beginning? Look at all those little marquees that talk about it's good for anxiety, it's good for PTSD, it's good for depression. Here are the experts saying that's not a thing. We don't have anything like you did with GM or Delta or Pfizer. It's just not out there. In contrast, the current evidence actually supports there's a strong association of cannabis use with the onset of psychiatric disorders, which is what Berenson's wife was seeing. We have people who are in their 40s who never ingested drugs before. They hear these anecdotal stories, they see it bombarded on TV, their back is starting to hurt them, or they're having some particular issue, they ingest it, and boom, they may have a genetic predisposition to going straight into psychosis. And now you flip the switch, you can't turn that switch off. And I don't know, you may have met some friends and you're like, gosh dang, what's going on with Betty or Bob? Like, I mean, they were fine, and then all of a sudden they're just crazy, right? And I deal with that frequently. Adolescents are particularly vulnerable to harm, given the effects of its impact on neurological development. We have heard this many times, that the brain doesn't stop developing until about 25 years of age. And yet, these folks now are trying to say, well, we're going to just limit it to 21 years of age, and we want to make it recreational marijuana. It's like, okay, well, what about all the scientific literature that's out there saying the brain's not even fully developed? Do you want to let 21-year-olds consume it and go into psychosis? Medical treatment should be evidence-based and determined by professional standards of care. It should not be authorized by ballot initiatives. There you hear it again, right? These aren't just warning signs, folks. These are really road closed ahead stop signs. This is the type of warnings that are out there. It's not proceed with caution. In my opinion, this is very much, we need to stop, full stop, right? It's no different than an Edsel or a Corvair from GM, where it's like, this car is unsafe at any speed, right? You gotta stop. This is not going to end up good. Or the Ford Pinto, right? Exploding because they thought it was a great idea to put a gas tank right under the back seat of a small compact car. All right, so keep on going here. I'm sorry I'm bombarding you, but you need to know this, right? The American Academy of Neurology, they don't support the use of nor any assertion of therapeutic benefits of cannabis products as medicines for neurologic disorders, right? They recommend that each product and formulation, it needs to be through a scientific study similar to the process required by the FDA for the approval of any drug, right? So, what does the FDA approve? Before you ever heard of Tylenol had to go through a process that says our product is safe. And it went through rigorous studies before you got to go into Walmart or Walgreens to ingest it, right? You can't get Advil. You don't have Advil, other than the fact that when the makers of Advil created this drug, they said it's safe to consume and here's the dosage that you can use, and you can only take 200 milligram pills every 4 hours and a maximum of 8 during a 24-hour period of time. All of that is because it's been studied and tested, because it has negative effects on your bodies, right? You can't take Sudafed, right, without it going through the FDA. You can't take Claritin or Benadryl. You can't even take a stool softener, because stool softeners had to go through the FDA, right? So guess what the FDA doesn't require approval of this, right? I found this, constipation relief was among the initial marijuana indications ancient Chinese Emperor Sheng Nun cited 5,000 years ago. Even that far, I took marijuana and it really helped me with constipation. Come on. So this is my little meme. So I don't know if you all get into that or have those kind of things. My advice to you is don't design your own. Have your grandkid or so. Jackie, my youngest one, I did mine. And Jackie said, Dad, no. So that's actually Jackie's design, right? If she didn't know, it's not bad. Not bad. So keep on statistics, National Institute of Health, right? What do they say? It's linked to lower birth weights. Adolescents are 4 to 7 times more likely to develop cannabis use disorder. Remember the syndrome of withdrawal? Well, now I've never heard of this before, but cannabis use disorder. Those are big words. It's like the higher risk of developing schizophrenia and other psychoses in people who are predisposed to these illnesses. And like my example of people who are, like I just went and got a gummy or whatever, and then I can tell you personal stories of people I know who did just this and just went straight into psychosis and had to be hospitalized because they're eating something that everybody thought, well, it's okay. Right, and I've got a connection to this. This is where actually Hollywood and science literally agree on all this, right? Because if you watch the movies, right, they're showing all this stuff of people consuming it, and they're acting like they're idiots, and they put out movies called Half Baked, which is because it's true. It does affect your ability to function, right? It does affect your brain. National Institute of Health, teens with ongoing marijuana use disorder lost an average of 8 IQ points between 13 and 38. How'd you like to be that? How would you like to be that? You give me, how much? 3 minutes? This is really exciting stuff.
I know.
Really exciting. I'm gonna have to whistle through this thing. All right. World Health Organization impairs cognitive development. Here's more stuff. Journal of Interpersonal Violence. Federal survey of high school students. They're 3 times more likely to be physically aggressive. Psychological magazine out of London, they did a lifetime tracking. There's a 9-fold increase in violent behavior. This is with kids who are consuming marijuana, right? You wonder why when we talk about Oklahoma and our violent rate and domestic violence things, well, it's out there, right? And it'd be nice to be able to test every single person who's getting in a fight. I bet bunches of them are high in THC. 13-year tracking study doubled the risk of committing domestic violence by the age of 26. What can we do about this? Well, my suggestion is you got to find a way to get yourself realistically educated. You can't be educated by what you hear on TV. You need to have conversations like I'm having with you right now. It's okay to be a little bit more confrontational. I think you all are probably a lot more resistant to believing what you see on TV, but we need to educate a younger population. This is a different world. They are taking advantage of you. You should insist on real data, right? And I've gone and I've had debates with this industry, and I confront them with data, and they can't refute it, right? But you have to say, all right, I know you're saying that, but give me the raw data and who's the source of that. You need to figure out to be an informed voter. And the reason I'm telling you this is there's an effort to do an initiative petition that'll probably be on the ballot here coming up, in which they're trying to just completely legalize marijuana in Oklahoma, as though medicine was just a joke, right?
It's already failed once, hasn't it?
Well, it has, but they're trying to do it again because
It went down pretty heavily last time.
correct. But so here's my argument on that, right? Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, everybody was smoking cigarettes, right? At some point, those folks figured out people were having this black lung issue going on, right? What did the tobacco industry realize? They realized if we keep going at this rate, we are going to lose our source of income, right? That was the point when they started enhancing nicotine. What their goal was not to leave it at the levels that was just casual recreational. They were creating an addicted population because they had plenty of guys who did actuarial tables, and it was like, we need now to figure out, can we continue the income stream into the future? And so from the late 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, until the lawsuits started happening, they were building a population of heavily dependent people. You know people today who are still smokers, and that income is going to the tobacco industry. And they had calculated this out, that even if we get sued, there's probably a dollar amount that they were willing to accept, and they did. And now it's all pure profit, right? It's the same thing with this industry. You could have had marijuana back in the day at whatever it was, a 3%, 3% concentration of THC, but now we are seeing levels in the 30, 40, 70, 80% concentration level. Why do they need to elevate the concentration of THC? It is to create a dependency so they have future income dollars, right? So talk with your doctor. I know you can get your medical marijuana license, but your current doctor is going to be able to say whatever, right? So yeah, what about Oklahoma? I'll be really fast here, Mr. Flugel, right? Cultivation licenses, November 2024. In November 2024, a year ago, we had